Good afternoon. We will continue to our series, Walking with God. Last Sunday, I spoke about walking with God, the believer's pursuit. Today, I will be sharing on walking with God, the believer's conduct in these last days. Now, the term last days means or also speaks about the end times, end of times, end of the world, last hour, and many others. As you go on reading, that is what you are going to encounter. But they are all synonymous. Now, one of the things that we have also to learn that's so important are the three phases of the last days. First, the start of the last days. Kailan ba talaga nagsisimula pag sinabi nating last days? 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 20, it says, God chooses him, Jesus Christ, as your ransom long before the world began. But now in these last days, he has been revealed for your sake. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2. And now in these final days, he has spoken to us through this Son. God promised everything to the Son as an inheritance, and through the Son, he created the universe. The final days. And another is about the last days. It's very clear that the last days starts during the first coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. That's why, if you try to look at the word last days, end of times, had been used even during the time of the apostles. Now, another phase is the sign of the last days. Matthew chapter 24 verse 3. Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, Tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world? There are signs that Jesus was telling his disciples. There's what we call natural disasters, earthquake, typhoons, and many others. There's what we call famine, plague. These are signs. And there's also what we call prophetic fulfillment, the sign where the prophecy were being fulfilled. And there's also what we call the birth pain sign. This is another phase of the last days. And the third is what we call the end of the last days. Sometimes this is called the last of the last days. And in this end of the last days, there are four major events that is going to happen. The first is the rapture. You can read it in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16 to 17, and in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. You can read it alone. Now, this is the starting point of the end of the last days. Rapture is the coming of Christ in the air and the meeting of the believers, where the believers will be snatched out or snatched away and meet Jesus in the air. Those who are dead will be resurrected, and they are going also to meet Jesus in the air. That's the first or the starting point of the end of the last days. Then we have the great tribulation. We can read it in Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7, and Matthew chapter 24, verse 15. This is a tribulation that is going to happen in this planet Earth that had never happened even from the start of the creation, and it will never be. That is how it was being described. Then, the return of Jesus here on earth. Matthew chapter 24, verse 30, and some other verses will tell us about the return of Jesus here on earth. Then the millennial kingdom, the 1,000 years reign of the Lord Jesus Christ. These are the four major events in the end of the last days. Where are we now? We are now so close, even in the end of the last days. We are in the point of what we call the birth pain sign. So close to the first major event, and that is the rapture. According to a survey by Lifeway Research, doon sa US nagkaroon ng survey among pastors. 9 out of 10 pastors were convinced that the return of Jesus is very near. 56% believe that the return of Jesus will be during their lifetime. Brother Eddie Villanueva, the founder of the GIL, said, rapture will happen at any time. If indeed we are about to enter the end of the last days, what should be the believer's conduct? First, it is the conduct of preparedness. Diyan lang sa takwan. Ako tanaw sa